Well, if you're new to one of these sessions here today, which I'm sure you're not, but you could be, put in the chat where you're from. So this is our last session. We have Rhonda Bell and we also have Melissa Tompkins here with us. And our next session should be really a good one. Like, what the bleep is my manager thinking of? I'm really excited about this last session. So we will get started once we get a little bit more people in here, and I'm sure I don't have to do your bio again. It looks like a lot of the same people. So I will just welcome everybody. Welcome. Yep, we definitely got our California people.
I spent most of my practice management years in California.
Oh, love California. I think it's a wonderful place.
Yeah, my husband was stationed out there for, I don't know, 10 years. We moved around various bases, but yeah, most of the time out there. And that's how I actually met Melissa and several of our other friends. And together we have a managers group out there that I'm still part of, even though I'm in Texas now. So yeah, networking and making friends.
How's your weather in Texas?
Okay. Yeah. Devil's armpit.
Yeah. Well, folks, we again have Rhonda Bell as our speaker for this session. So we'll go ahead and Rhonda, take it over.
Thank you. I'm going to get this chat over here. Get myself all lined up. Okay. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for coming back for the end of the day, last session, I believe. I'm the caboose. I did change the name just briefly for you guys because it's more like, what is the blank is my team thinking? We're going to challenge some mindsets. We kind of started talking about it a little bit with Melissa's talk last time. Melissa and I didn't actually coordinate our talks. These are talks that we have kind of in our inventory. We just knew that our talks really did complement one another. And so we timed when we would give what, but we really didn't plan it to this extent. But I feel like it's really kind of worked out pretty smoothly, and hopefully you guys are getting a lot of value out of it. So we're going to talk about meditation. We're going to talk about challenging mindsets. We're also going to go through a crappy day in the veterinary practice because I like to teach from experience. And then I'm going to also be transparent about me, about what some of this negativity and some of this poor self-management and poor boundary keeping did to me in my career. So there will be a few little trigger things here and there. I'll warn you, just so you know, but this is my story, my history. You're welcome to share if you would like. A lot of you already have, and I have a lot in common with a lot of you, and I'm going to kind of go through that with you. So she didn't read my bio. It's fine. I haven't gotten any more certifications since the last session, so we're good. I do love teaching. I love working with people. I love writing. I am also a CE event coordinator. I like putting together sessions like this for people to learn and gain knowledge and experience one another. So this is a real hoot for me. I get a charge out of this. Okay, so let's get into this. So, oh, somebody fixed it. Lori, I hope everything's working okay. If not, you can.
Yeah, you're fine. It was Melissa's. You're good.
Oh, got it. Okay. So picture it. Channel your inner golden girls. We're going to go to Monday morning in the vet practice. We've had a weekend and now we've got to go back to work. So one, I want you to channel and kind of think about how you approach Mondays. Are you ready for it? Are you usually sleepy because you don't get enough rest? Are you hungry because you didn't eat? You just got to hurry up, hit the floor, put on a messy bun, some wrinkled scrubs, and get out there because you are tired. Do you actually need another day between Saturday and Sunday? The other thing that I always think about, and this is one of those, talking about therapists and kind of bringing some of the previous conversations forward. My therapist told me one time, he's like, why do you let Monday steal your Sunday? And I was like, oh, dude, that's another t-shirt. Because you definitely, you can start pre-dreading, like Melissa was saying, pre-dreading, pre-worrying, worrying about Monday, worry about so-and-so's not going to show up, on and on and on. So by the time Monday gets there, you've already primed the pump for a crappy day, right? So now we're stepping into it and facing this Monday. So you get there, you walk in the door, and guess what? There's a code brown in the lobby, or, you know, in the back where you've got a complete blowout, or one of the dogs in one of the kennels back there did finger painting all night, whatever the case may be. We all know, we've all been there. So these are things that we face when we get into the practice. It doesn't have to be a Monday, it could be a Tuesday. It's every day sometimes. And then, you know, little old Precious, he just got here for his bath. Mom brought him in without a carrier. There's tons of dogs everywhere. I mean, the only thing I can think of in these situations, and I can tell you all the times that I was in the practice and the owners did this, I swear, I'm like, they're so murdery. Like, they obviously want to kill us. Do they not understand that cats are not going to be happy with this whole scenario? So, but they still do it. They still walk in thinking everything's going to be fine. I'm always amazed that they make it from their car to the practice through that parking lot with their cat without, you know, needing stitches. And then after we've dealt with Precious, then you know what's her name? You know, how many have had this particular owner that comes in and one dog needs something, but the other 3 or 4 come in with her, or at least one other one that's unruly and is just there for moral support. But now you've got to wrangle all of these different dogs and all of these different things, trying to find out what it is that's wrong. What do we need to be dealing with? Which actually pet are we treating? What's the patient here? And not to mention, there's a lobby full of patients, things that are going to be happening, things that we know we got to do, schedules booked. We got doctors who are already pre-cranky because they came in ready for a crappy day too. So we're dealing with all of these different negative energy sources coming at us, and we kind of started it ourselves. So how many drink coffee? How many drink tea? So at least you have your coffee, right? And I can't tell you how many times I see people, and as a manager, I was always kind of not frustrated, but I noted it in my mind's eye when I had technicians and team members come in late, but they had an iced Starbucks in their hand. Like, I see you. I see you, you little caffeine fiend. Yes, coffee is the elixir of life. I literally have my own coffee bar. Like, not even kidding. I'm too lazy to even go to Starbucks. I make my own. I love it. I actually drink as a coffee note, just totally aside, another commercial that I'm unpaid for. My favorite coffee bean is Sip of Hope. If you haven't tried it, it's amazing. And they also 100% of the proceeds or the sales go to support mental health support and suicide awareness training. So it's really cool. sipofhope.com. It's really good. Let's see. So after you go through all of that, then you run into your manager, and maybe your manager wants just a quick favor, wants to talk about the schedule. And you just know, it's about adding in a couple of sick dogs. Maybe we got some drop-offs, this emergency that's been coughing for, 4.5 weeks, and today is emergency kind of thing. So by the time you've dealt with anything, then you're already pissed, right? You've got all of these things coming at you. You definitely have to find a balance, but you're already mad and you're coming into it with this mindset already. So let's go back over it. We're going to do an inventory. We're going to remember all the things that we dealt with, but now we're going to take that personal inventory. So when you deal with all of these things, and let me know in the chat if you feel like this is a fair Monday morning or fair morning in the practice. These things were literally the things that I had to deal with. Most of the code browns were actually in the parking lot that I had to kind of navigate like a minefield. And I don't even know when people do that. Like when does that happen? Because it wasn't there before. And then when I get back to work, it's crazy. So knowing that all of that's there and that the owner's going to be mad and I've got to beat him to it and get it picked up and cleaned up before everybody else gets there, it's just frustrating. It totally just sets me off. Yes, do not let Monday steal your Sunday. It is very hard not to do that because I already start pre-dreading, but that really changed things for me. So whenever Melissa was talking, I challenged my distortions. And whenever I start pre-worrying about Monday, I think about it like, this is still Sunday, dude. You're off the clock. Like, don't get into it. So that personal inventory, how are you feeling after you've had this morning? Not talking about anybody else, not talking about any of the team members, just how are you feeling and coping with all of the energetic bombardment of all of the things that are going on around you and how you're kind of interpreting those. And then because of that, how are you behaving? So how are you consciously behaving, but how are you unconsciously behaving? What are you putting out there to your team that they're picking up? And how are they seeing that, and how are they receiving that? And then also think about your team. So what is the team dynamic when you've come in and you've had this day, this morning? And not only that, if we stop and take it a step further, what has their morning been like? What are their experiences been? What have they had similar things happen that are also kind of piling in on them this morning? So considering how they're feeling, what their experiences have been, and then how do others see the team behaving? So if you've got clients or other people within the practice, how are they seeing the interactions amongst the team in the morning? Are y'all a cranky bunch of people that don't talk to anybody? Is everybody kind of just hunkering down? So think about that and think about how you're perceived and how you're perceiving others. So we're going to work on fixing that and how to actually challenge the thoughts and emotions that come into our minds, so we can have a better concept of what's going on around us, but also have a better effect on those people around us, including our clients, but most importantly, on our patients, because patient care is what? Job one. So when your team or your manager says, can you smile when you greet the clients? We tell this to CSRs all the time. Smile when you answer the phone, and smile and smile and smile. Blech. Sometimes you just don't want to smile. But let's talk about why maybe you should. So here are the reasons kind of in the middle of why you can't. So these are some of the common things that I hear, and some of the things that I felt also is why I couldn't. It's like, have you not seen the lobby? Have you not seen Precious? He stinks. He's here for a bath. He has no cage. Like, dude, all the poop I picked up in the parking lot, and you want me just to start smiling like I'm all happy? Right. So you automatically assume that they're not in tune to what happened to you that morning. So therefore they're blissfully unaware. Plus it's first thing in the morning and maybe you're not a morning person. So let's talk about why you should. We really don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So if clients go in there and they see that demeanor and that tone, and our team sees that in us, that's going to set them up for the expectation of what our communication is going to be like with them. So they're already putting up their boundaries. They're already getting their defenses. They're already getting their hackles raised, because we are predetermining the direction of our communication just by what they're reading. So if we work on that and we do smile and we come at them with a willingness to communicate and an openness to communicate, our client tension and our client bond is going to deepen. And we all know that when we have client bonds that are deep and that we can fall back on when we have trying relationship times, like tough cases, and talk about money and all of those things, then we're going to get better compliance if we've got that good bond with the client. Patient care is going to be improved, and patient care is job one. So I challenge you with this, this quote from Paulo Coelho. I apologize if I butchered that, but no matter how you feel today, get up, dress up, show up, never give up. So I do challenge you to try to spend time in the morning, gift yourself time in the morning to actually get up and wake up. It is hard. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of extra oomph, because sometimes just getting out of bed is a thing, but it definitely does help to give yourself a little bit of time that's just for you to kind of center yourself and get into the right space and to be showered and clean and feel good. And so you can face the day. So I know I'm sounding like a total mom on this, but it really is that important, because if you don't, and you don't prepare yourself for a successful day, you're definitely preparing yourself for an icky day. And then the last thing is train your facial muscles into a smile. So you can actually train your resting face. And I joke that I have RBF. And if you don't know what RBF is, I can tell you, but I'm trying to be nice. But I used to scare the crap out of my employees, because if I'm focusing on something, I have, these little frown line things and my face gets really serious and my mouth kind of just get like, I mean, I could kill somebody. And I'm just, working on payroll or I don't know, licking stamps, whatever I'm doing. But if I'm focusing on it, that's my focused face. Well, I do definitely come across as upset and cranky. So I actually have had to learn to do facial exercises and take a minute right now and just relax your muscles. Relax your muscles, pull your muscles apart, pull your eyebrows apart. Don't ruin your eyebrows if you got like a really kicking eyebrow job right now, but just spread out those muscles because it really does feel good. It really does stretch the face, and then train your face into a smile and just learn to rest your face in a smile. And eventually it becomes a habit. So even if you're sitting there, even if you look a little crazy, it's okay because at least you don't look mad and you've got a relaxed face. You'll also find over time that your jaw doesn't clench as much because you've got those different muscles engaged and relaxing there. So it is pretty important, but it can help you relax your face. Let's see. Yep, exactly. You got it, Hannah. Yep. Too funny. Yes, even my kids. That's why I had that meme, that picture in the very beginning. That's my RBF face. Here, I'll go back and show you. That's my RBF face. That picture that I took is actually a joke picture. That's the picture I give my kids when they have pissed me off. And it scares the crap out of them. And so when I showed my daughter that picture, she's 32. And to this day, she's like, dude, mom, that is so scary. Because usually it accompanied a grounding or a loss of a phone or something. So she just knew there's nothing good that can come from that face. So let's challenge another mindset. So the manager comes in and they want you just to get over it. Erase Monday morning, just let it go, move on, get over it. Well, okay, yeah, done. Let me snap my fingers and I'm emotionally just engaged and I'm happy doing it. It's great. So it doesn't work that way. We all know that we can't just drop everything and get over it when we've had a very frustrating morning, or maybe we've had an altercation with one of our team members. So there's so many things that go into that morning feeling of overwhelmed. Maybe the other team members are cranky and it keeps sucking you back. Like I said, a lot of us end up finding out that we're empathic. And so we can really pick up on a lot of energy. It's one of those things where you walk in the practice and you feel the vibe, something, or you talk to someone and you can feel that they are kind of draining you energetically. Or on the other side, you're around people and you just love being around them. Like you get so much positive energy and they just make you feel great. So they're putting off a lot of positive energy that you're picking up on as well. So I've just noticed, I'm not a doctor, this is just my own little observation, but I've noticed that there are so many people in our industry that do that. And maybe I'm just talking to them and we seek each other out, and maybe that's why I know them, but it's a very real thing. So we also have to be careful and protect ourselves because we can absorb someone else's energy and be negative and then look at ourselves and be like, I'm not even upset. I don't even know why I'm cranky. Nothing really happened. So you can feel overwhelmed. The teammates may be cranky. You're offended. Maybe they don't understand. Maybe the manager came in and they don't understand why it is that you had such a bad morning and you're behind and you've got all these things to do because towels didn't get washed and you've got to prep for surgery and there's just all the things. And then also it's really hard to feel like you're responsible for the energy in the practice for other people as well. So it's twofold. Yes, people, Melissa and I both, we've talked about this so many times. You can absorb it, but then you can also just like, I don't care if I'm cranky and it's making other people cranky. I need to just be in my space right now. And it is hard to worry about the responsibility of the team around you. So moods really can be controlled. We can have bad things happen around us, to us, in front of us, to other people that affect us that we are touched by. We can control how we respond to those. We have to do it with training and with the cognitive awareness that we're doing it and that it's happening. You will find, if you kind of pay attention to yourself, maybe I did, that I started getting into bad moods when I wasn't aware of what was happening, when I wasn't paying attention. And when I started really looking at, okay, what is it? Why am I so cranky? Right? What is happening? And I realized, well, I'm cranky because so-and-so had this altercation with the client and I know about it now. Or, like the example from the previous talk where, that everybody was getting really upset with a client who had to euthanize her pet because she didn't have money to treat it. We absorb that, we get cranky, and we're going to bring that forward to the next situation. And so we're going to pre-prime those situations with future client conversations and communications to potentially be negative. So we can't drag it forward. Yeah, be like Teflon, don't absorb it. Amen. So again, I get to use my saying, don't let anyone take a space in your head rent free. That's anybody, 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 anybody. Let's see. Are there any questions or any chat, anything I need to respond to before I move on?
No.
Okay. So ways that we can help our team and ourselves get over it when we've had a bad start is, as a culture, adopt the mindset that you're not going to spread it, that you do work individually as well as a team to actually get over it. Move past it. Whatever happened is in the past. So continuing to bring the emotional trauma forward isn't actually going to serve you. So deal with what you need to deal with the event. If it needs something that needs to be solved, that's fine. But carrying, like that video that Melissa played, carrying that emotional worry and concern forward is still treating your body as though it's happening, even though the situation is now done. Or it didn't even happen to you. It happened to someone else on the team, and you're just kind of absorbing some of that emotional impact. So don't take someone else's mood personally, and be proactive personally. Check your mood at the door. Really do work on finding your bias, finding your emotional situation. Where are you at? Are you cranky? Are you upset? Are you this? Are you that? I'll tell you a story about a fight. I was just telling Melissa and Lori on the break. I had a fight with my husband the other day about a peanut butter packet, like literally a peanut butter packet. We've been married for 28 years. We've had some pretty good fights because I'm a fighter. And if you want to get cranky with me, then we're going, right? I have no problem. But I got really upset because I was working this peanut butter packet and kneading it. And then I left to go do something, and I came back and he was eating my peanut butter. And I was just, that's my peanut butter. And I was so upset. And then and I just gave him this look. I gave him the RBF, and I didn't even say anything to him. I'm like, well, no, he did. I said, dude, that's my peanut butter. Why are you eating my peanut butter? And then I gave him the look. And he got mad. He's like, why are you being a jerk? Why are you freaking out about this? And then, you're just being crazy about this. And I was like, oh, you did not go there. And then it was on. Like, we both went nuclear. And when you take a step back and look at it, it was a peanut butter packet. Like, come on. But I really got upset, and I didn't, I could have just gotten another peanut butter packet. He could have just apologized. There's a lot of things that we could have done, but we kept feeding off of each other and the frustration, and then it escalated, and there was no reason for it, but we didn't stop ourselves. And so even though I study this, I teach this, I write articles about this, I'm still human and I experience this. And everything that we have shared with you today is an exercise, and it lasts forever. Building confidence goes on. You don't ever just reach this moment of enlightenment and confidence and be like, okay, everything's great, I'm amazing now, yay me. No, it's a learning process every day. And you take little bits of experiences and learning that you pick up from yourself, from people, things around you, and you apply those to your life. And then you find that you have more and more happiness integrated in, and it's pretty awesome.
Rhonda, Janine has a question
Uh-huh.
about enabling poor behavior. You want to take a look?
Are we not enabling poor behavior by our managers and owners who don't have boundaries that protect the employees? I guess they don't have to see the emotions. However, they respond without it. I don't know that I understand your question, Janine. Are we not enabling our poor behavior by our managers?
So I think she's asking if we are enabling it.
By what?
I don't know. By not reacting.
Could you give us a little bit?
Yeah, she said if we always get over it. Yeah. Okay, that's a good question.
Gotcha. I'm not saying that there aren't problems in the practice that need to be fixed. I'm not telling you to overlook things, and I'm not telling you to, if there is a catastrophic breakdown in the structure or the efficiency or the flow of the practice that allows dog poop to fill up in the parking lot because someone isn't doing their job or it's not assigned appropriately at the right time to be cleaned up, that is a problem. That is a practice management issue. What I'm talking about is the frustration and the anger that you carry forward into that moment and into that time. So that's where, having those conversations with your manager could help and say, I am very frustrated. I will get over it, but this is a problem that we need to fix. Here's a potential solution. So no, I'm not just saying, do what they say and not address any of the potential causes, and just saying, don't let it eat you. Don't let it stay on your emotional plate. Good question, though. Thank you for saying that. I didn't think about it in that context, but yes, absolutely. So let's meet our favorite coworker. So this is Chris Cranky Pants. So this is the coworker that everyone dreads working with, that we don't know why they work there. We don't know why they haven't been fired. They're totally awful. Their skill set is not all that great, but some reason the owners and the managers keep this person, right? So the things we know about Chris, Chris is guaranteed to be in a bad mood. This could be Chris girl, Chris boy, Chris they, it doesn't matter. It's just, we know who this person is within the practice. And we've probably all had experiences working with a Chris. I used to say Karen, but that doesn't really work anymore. Well, kind of, but anyway, so guaranteed to be in a bad mood. Chris is always rude to the team. They don't do their fair share. They poison the mood of the team. Everyone dreads working with them, and we wonder why they still work there. They know it all. So they may be the gatekeepers and the keeper of the information, and they put themselves in that position to protect their role within the practice. Maybe they complain about everything or gossip or complain to other people about everybody's everything. Guaranteed they're going to be late no matter what. It'll be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but they're going to walk in late. And they always are the ones that are blaming others for their mistakes. Anybody work with a Chris? You don't have to admit it. So then you look at the schedule and you realize you're scheduled with Chris Cranky Pants. So automatically it's Monday, and now you've got to deal with this. Ooh, 2 of them, Laura. So these are the things that we are faced with, and why we immediately think to ourselves, nope, I can't do it. No. So we know they're annoying, so annoying. And then maybe the manager has no clue how horrible it is to work with them, because managers doesn't work with them, right? So they don't know how awful it is. And so the fact that they can schedule people with them, or schedule this person, or even make them have a job is, I don't even understand. I don't even get it. So then the other thing is their favorite phrase that they use is, that's not my job. Good, Sarah, I'm glad you fired those people. Back in the day, there were a few sacred cows that I wasn't allowed to touch as a practice manager. And then eventually, whenever I did, we had one in particular when I was able to finally prove that the toxic nature and the turnover from this one person was such a huge detriment to the practice. Then I was allowed to fire this person. And I cannot tell you, it was like angel music, the weight lifting off your shoulders. Everyone in the practice was so happy, so thrilled. Everyone thought that the owners thought that the team was so bonded to this person that everybody would quit when I fired her. And what actually happened was they were so afraid of her that they had to be in her good graces in order to be safe from her wrath. They didn't like her. They were just afraid of her. So they wanted somebody to stand up to her and bully the bully. And I wasn't afraid to do that. The owner was, because of the big picture consequences. But once the owner was willing to face it, then actually things changed dramatically, and the team changed dramatically, and turnover actually slowed down quite a bit. So when we realize that we have a Chris Cranky Pants, we can't change them. We can't fix them. We can control how we receive that information and what we do with that energy and that knowledge that we have to deal with it, and how we affect our moods We can't let the bad moods permeate. The managers do know. I am a manager. Melissa is a manager. We've done both managed for years and years and years. We know who the crappy people are. Okay. I'm telling you, we know, because they don't just do it to you, and it is seen and it is heard. Whether or not managers can do anything about it in that moment, there are details, there are things, there's circumstances. So I'm not going to push all the managers under the bus, but I will tell you that, the gatekeepers and the bullies, they're not hiding as well as you think they are. And you have been seen. Okay. Again, don't attend every fight that you're invited to. Just because Chris Cranky Pants is a grouch doesn't mean you get to feed their fire. They love it when you engage them. They love it when they get the attention and they can get that spotlight back on them. So if you go after them, you're just putting that spotlight and feeding them. Don't feed the trolls, people. Leave them alone. If you don't feed them, they starve and they go away. So don't attend the fights, don't engage, and don't allow the bad mood to spread. You just keep diddle bopping along, having a great morning, and let them stew. They're going to show up even more and stand out even more to their managers. Excuse me, just 1 minute.
Rhonda, there's been a couple comments in the chat about when it's the practice owner or the associate veterinarian, and I don't know if you're going to talk about when it's someone that's a little harder, you can't necessarily get rid of, how to handle some of that communication.
Right. It is definitely different. You cannot fire the owner. I've thought about it and looked into it. It's not possible. But you don't necessarily, if you can't affect change by having conversations, and this is where that courageous conversation really comes into play. There really is no way to maneuver around calling it out and saying it is what it is, and identifying that toxic scenario that comes into play. Like I mentioned in the gaslighting talk, you have to have documentation and examples of when it's happening and what's happening. That way, when you go to have that conversation, you give them specific examples, times. These guys are scientists, right? They're logical thinkers, analytical thinkers. So you need to present them with evidence that shows them that these things have occurred. Now, they're not going to understand whenever, or most, that's not fair. I don't want to lump them together, but most may not understand when you give them that evidence of you said this and I felt this. They may not understand the I felt part. Okay, that's on them. That's not on you. So make sure that you are presenting the evidence. Talk to them calmly, quietly, professionally. Remember, we have a brand, we have a decorum that this is important to us. So we're not going to go in there emotional. We're going to wait until we can handle it and not be emotional, and just have a point blank conversation of, these are my expectations of working here. And this is what I thought was supposed to be happening. This is actually what's happening. Here's my evidence. I don't like this. Is there anything that we can do, work together to change this? And then if you get the answer no, your answer is no, then you need to look for a practice who has that. Practice owners are really challenging and difficult. I will tell you, and this sounds absolutely horrible, but we have the old school mentality and the new school mentality. And right now we've got this clash of generations within veterinary medicine. And you have a lot of practices who are waking up and realizing that a lot of the dumb things we did back in the day are dumb, and they're not doing it. They're not managing that way coming forward. Culture and people and who they are, their life outside of work, all of that is important. And so we are now focusing on that, teaching it, learning it, and embracing it. And most importantly, living it. So look around at the practices that you're talking to for jobs and that you're in, and look around and see if they're living the culture they're talking about. That's when you're going to know that it's real. Your associate DVMs, kind of maneuvering around them, that is very challenging because they're a revenue center, right? So they're protected. They bring in the money, and sometimes they're allowed to be jerks and abusive and offensive and oppressive because they make the money. And, technicians can make some money, but you're not a revenue center like the associates are. And practice managers, we're not a revenue center whatsoever. I've never made one single dime for any of the practices I've managed. I facilitated revenue, but I never actually earned the revenue. So it was really hard to quantify all the different roles and who has the most importance in terms of how we're treated. in one of the practices I worked at, I was in charge of the associates. The owners told everyone that there's a holy trinity, and there was two of them, one of me, and then everyone else. And that's what they said. So if they came back and said, you don't accept that because you see appointments also, amen, excellent. If you can be a revenue center, then absolutely. There are a lot of limitations on technicians in terms of the amount you can produce compared to an associate, which is kind of where I was headed with that. But I am absolutely amazing. I love that. So we still have veterinarians who won't let technicians have appointments or generate revenue because they're just technicians. So, I mean, we're still dealing with it. So I'm glad that you're one of the ones out there that are making the change. You're exactly who I was talking about. So I feel like this should be called something other than Leadership Symposium, as this fits for anybody working in any veterinary medicine role. Absolutely. This applies anywhere, and it doesn't even have to be in veterinary medicine. This absolutely fits in any kind of job role, anywhere. It's just kind of life, but it's self-preservation and taking care of yourself in a healthy way so you preserve your career. And that's what's really important to me, is I want you to preserve your happiness and your career within veterinary medicine. Melissa stole my freaking poem, guys. She gave this earlier, and I had it, so I'm not going to read it to you again, but this is the anybody, everybody, nobody poem. I got this, I don't know, 15 years ago when I attended a management meeting, and I've used it, and I've even used it on my kids. They get so mad at me. So how many have y'all have heard, just leave it at the door? So maybe you've got a rough relationship at home. Maybe you got in a fight with a spouse. Maybe things are happening and they're just like, look, don't bring it in, leave it at the door. I know your kids call you 25 times a day. I know your husband pesters you. I know your boyfriend's always causing the practice. Just stop worrying about it. Stop thinking about it. Focus on the job. Well, that's another one that's super easy. Just do it, right? Easy. Boom. No, it's not. It's not easy just to turn this off and forget that you have a life outside of the practice. And we used to really kind of focus on that. And, like, oh my goodness, I forgot your name. I'm so sorry. But she even said that, she feels the pressure of, if she's not there 15 hours a day, that she's lazy and that people are going to question what she's doing. And I'm going to get into that more on my side and tell you more about my story, but that's exactly what I did. I was so worried that if I wasn't there, people are going to start talking crap and convince the owners that I wasn't doing my job or that I wasn't a good manager. So I had to have my hands in everything, on everything. And no matter what was happening at home, I couldn't just leave it at the door. If I was stressed out about a kid, if I was stressed out about, my husband's job, or the fact that we had orders and we were going to have to move again, that meant I had to go get another job managing a practice somewhere. There are things outside of veterinary medicine. I know it's absolute shock, isn't it? But it is. We have lives. So it is stressful and you can't just turn it off. But what you can do is remember that controlling your personal drama and how you're responding to it will allow you to fix your mindset, will allow you to have a positive mindset, and to also check some of those biases, check some of that negative energy that you're carrying around. And maybe you could, there's different ways you can do it. You could look at it as this is an opportunity to remove yourself from that space, right? To think about something else. But reducing that stress from the things you cannot change outside of your space, carrying it, bring it forward. Like, Melissa was saying in her previous one, that MSUing or just carrying that energy, you're going to really frustrate yourself and your team. I feel like I have to cough. I'm sorry. So here's how we can leave it at the door. We can be proactive and we can set those boundaries. Make sure our boundaries, check them. Like literally do an inventory. Am I doing what's right for me? Am I honoring what's important to me? Am I honoring my own boundaries? If I know it's going to be a crappy day and I've got a doctor who is absolutely going to make us late, am I willing to stay? Am I going to be guilted into having to stay late because, it's for the patients? Or am I going to make sure that they understand that I need to leave? I need to go home and take care of my kids. I need to go deal with my husband. I need to deal with some of those things. So having those boundaries where you have a good balance. And again, this has to be a practice-wide adoption. So it has to, everyone kind of needs to buy into they're working on themselves while you're working on yourself. It is really hard. And I'm going to acknowledge the challenge. It is really hard to do this alone unless you have buddies who are going to support you and nurture you. And that's where I think having those networking friendships, not best friendships, because I think those can be a little dangerous, work wives and work husbands, and those super tight knit, close relationships can kind of become unhealthy if we're not careful. But having a support network of like-minded people who are interested in supporting your positive growth. Maybe you have a meditation buddy. Maybe you have somewhere where you're like, can I just vent to you for 5 minutes? Are you able to hear it? But ask them, because maybe they can't take on your negativity, and it's okay if they can't, but you need to ask that question. Do we have anything going on that I need to address?
Just unrealistic expectations from when people are like Talithia was at a funeral and people were mad at her because she wasn't responding to her text messages, and other unrealistic expectations that sometimes other people are putting on us.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm sorry for that. That really is painful. I'm really sorry that happened. I'm glad you didn't respond. I am challenging you to turn off your phones when you're not at work. I know, scary. Think about it. Melissa is one that well, there's a group of us. There's like 7 or 8 of us CVPMs, and we're in a group together. And I don't respond to much on Sundays because I put my phone down and I'm unaware. I'm blissfully unaware. And I own a social media company. I am always on social media. I'm always been bombarded with the stuff. And so one time we were talking, and there was like 43 text messages in this group, and Melissa called me and she's like, hey, are you okay? And it was like, yeah, I'm fine. Why, what's up? And then she's like, well, because you're not responding. And somebody asked a question. And I'm like, oh, well, it's Sunday. And then I explained to her, I'm like, Sunday, I just got to unplug. And so now she understands, and she doesn't get offended. She doesn't get, think I'm thinking anything bad, or, it's just unplug. I'm off. I don't want to know. I don't want to talk management. I don't want to talk anything. I'm off. I want to have brain drain. Like, I want to go garden. I want to go do whatever. But it is so hard to turn off your phone. Oh, now you are really talking. I got to piss you off. In the delivery room having a baby, and my doctors were trying to FaceTime me because they couldn't find something. Oh my gosh, Kobe. Okay, hang on. I got to get through my slides. You people are killing me. Okay, I'm going to show you. Let's practice the professional no, and then we're going to get into some other stuff. So you can say no. I am empowering you to say no. I'm giving you permission. You can go back and tell your owners and your managers I said that you could say no. I'm sure they're going to really think it's important and impactful. But there are some ways that we can say no. So when your inner self is screaming hell no, this is how you can actually say it. And these are just examples. I would love for you to put in the chat other ways that you have said the professional no, just because I'm kind of collecting them. And then there's this girl on something, TikTok. She's on Shorts. She's somewhere, but she does the toodaloo, and she actually does a 2-part skit where she is telling her boss no and setting boundaries, and it's amazing. I'll try to find her name. I totally am drawing a blank right now, but yeah, she's awesome because she's doing a lot of this. So a professional way of saying no is, unfortunately, I have too much to do today. So there's no question mark. There's no nothing. It's no, unfortunately, I have too much to do today, or now isn't a good time for me. Or I'm flattered, but no, thank you. Sorry, I'm booked into something else right now. Or I'm not taking on anything else right now. That would be big. Or dang it, man, I wish there were 2 of me sometimes. Meaning my plate's full. You've already given me enough crap. Like, quit handing tasks off to me. Or dang it, I can't fit this one in this time. Or if you're constantly the one that has to ask or, find something, I'm so sorry, I can't fix it this time. Meaning, go teach someone else how to do it. It doesn't always have to be me. And then sadly, I have something else to do. So Melissa says, all employees have the right to their personal time. Please respect those boundaries for your team. They do not have to be on the clock 24 hours a day. Preach, sister. So the manager wants you to be more efficient and organized. When we think about this, we're like, yeah, no, duh, right? But it is really hard when we've got mornings that start us out into a chaotic mindset. And so sorting that out and getting it reorganized can be very difficult. It's hard to find the people we need to find. It's hard to find. There you go, Jen. I love you. Toodaloo lady is Laura Haley. Yes, she's amazing. She's really funny. Her coffee cup is hilarious. I love it. So, and you'll have to go look it up. I can't say that word at all, but you'll have to go look it up, follow her, and look at her coffee cup. So clients will get better treatment for their pets if we are organized in our thoughts and minds, as well as in our environment. We won't forget things. We won't forget to mention things. We won't forget to have the moment to do that educational piece, as well as the medical piece of what it is they're there for. We often miss the opportunities or don't even have the opportunities to do the additional education because we're so busy just making sure we've got the checklist done and making sure everything that they came in for got done. We want to make sure that we did the best job we could, but we don't get to have that extra moment of relationship building or education. And that is where being disorganized in our thoughts and minds, as well as our environment, can have a detriment on patient care. And we all know patient care is job one. So guess what? It also comes back to boundaries. It's like that's a theme or something. So we're going to communicate openly and positively to all departments within the practice about the tasks that are currently ongoing that we have on our plate. So be proactive instead of reactive. Instead of needing the professional no, let people know I've got this, this, and this, and I am absolutely slammed. I could use some help, or I've got this. If someone else can handle the other stuff, that would be great. And then go do your things. So that way you're not, the assumption isn't you're just going to take more on. And then if there truly is a systemic issue with organization, efficiency, flow, any of that stuff, then you do need to come up with some solutions for better organization within either your department, or go to your ownership and your leadership and say, hey, we have a major organizational issue. Our efficiency's off, our flow is off. Sometimes even hiring a consultant to come in and look at it from the outside in, because they have fresh eyes. I mean, that's exactly what Melissa does. She goes in with a fresh set of eyes and a fresh perspective. She doesn't come in with any preconceived notions about anything. She has no biases about your practice. And she goes in and she looks and tells you, you've got a gap here, or you've got a hole, or you've got a blockade that flow and efficiency is not working here. And you don't even see it because you're just used to working within that dynamic every day, because that's just how you do it in that practice, right? So there are times where you have to fix the actual problem. It's not just you fixing you. There is a problem. You can also improve communication with digital methods. So having, your text apps, your WhatsApp, all of the technology that's available to us now to communicate readily, Slack channels, Sling channels, all of those really do help. So I'm going to skip over this one because I want to make sure I'm getting onto some stuff. So this is where all of these scenarios are real. Every one of those things I either said as a manager or I dealt with as a technician and a manager. And I'm no different than any of you guys. Like we all could have worked in the same practice, right? Just a minute. So I was the team member. I had to roll with the punches. I did have a lot of years of feeling powerless, even as the leader of the practice, as the CVPM, and as the ultimate decision maker. Because when the owners gifted me or bestowed upon me, or whatever you want to call it, the power to be in control of everybody in the practice, basically it just took the pressure off of them and put it on me. And I was silly enough to think that that was an honor. So getting them to answer any questions was really difficult, because they were just like, I don't know, what do you want to do? So it became a problem, and it became a real major source of stress. They thought that they were supporting me and empowering me to make tough decisions with our team. If I needed to fire a doctor, I sat down with the owners, I told them why, and they supported me, and I would fire a doctor. I mean, I had their complete support, but it also turned almost into a toxic scenario where I didn't have their backup. So they just kind of gave it to me and I had to deal with it. I was making mistakes. I was getting very tired. I was getting very fatigued, and I didn't understand why. I was working 15, 16 hours a day. My team was turning over and I was in the middle of a mutiny. I had some team members who wanted to basically do what I was doing on their terms and wanted to challenge me. And instead of looking at it in a way that I could have found why or worked through it with them or found ways that I could have actually utilized them, because wouldn't that have been the genius way to do it? I took it as, you're challenging me as the manager. Do you know who I am? Do you know what I know? And I really got angry about it and then pursued bad decision making out of that frustration and anger. And I'm being very honest and very transparent with you. So I hope it doesn't upset anyone, but this is just my truth and my story. And then I was also tasked with keeping the owners happy, keep sending them to Fiji, keep making sure that they've got money coming in, and don't mess anything up and don't break anything that can't be fixed. No pressure, right? So this is me in the middle of my heart attack. I was 39 years old. It happened in 2016, the end of 2016, something like that. What I didn't realize, and some of my doctors actually looked at this picture afterwards. My boss is actually the one that saved me that day. We were supposed to go to a breakfast meeting and I called and told him that I really wasn't feeling good. And I didn't think I could walk downstairs in my condo to get to the car. And so he heard me slurring my words. I didn't even know it. I had no idea. He actually came and broke into my house and got me and took me to the ER, which was a mile away from my house, in time to find out that I was having a heart attack. I had no clue. I was the last one to know. And even when they told me, I didn't believe it. I had a lot of pain between my shoulder blades. For women, typically it's not in your chest. It's actually in your back, in your shoulder blade. I just felt like I had to burp like nobody's business. And it hurt so bad that I almost wanted somebody just to stab through and pop the air bubble. Like that's how bad it hurt, right? So the stress from dealing with that, I got sick. Eventually this led to a, sorry, my dog decided right now is the time she had to go. Led to a diagnosis of scleroderma, which is an autoimmune disease that affects my lungs and my body. Basically, I'm having an abundance of scar tissue buildup. I've already lost half of my lung function. I am permanently disabled, although I hate that word. I call it other abled. Nobody's disabled. We just find a different way to work around it, right? So I did learn a lot during that time. The one thing that I will tell you I learned is that stress and anxiety are real and they're deadly. They will kill you. So this was a very, very scary time. One of the other things about this picture that my doctors looked at, do you see how lumpy, bumpy my tongue is? Apparently there was a period of time leading up to this that I was probably having seizures at night and completely unaware of it. And that's a sign of that. So here's my lessons from this. One, I have to manage myself. I have to manage my mindset, manage my boundaries, and that my health and my career success was 100% up to me. Because whenever all of this went down, ultimately I had to retire. I lost my job because I was no longer able to work in veterinary medicine in a practice setting, because to stop scleroderma from killing me, to slow it down, I have to go on chemotherapy drugs. So I'm on 2 very strong immune suppressants that don't allow me to be around sick dogs anymore because I can't get anything funky. I'm also not allowed to work with people too much. So I had to be really careful. COVID was super fun. Like, can't tell you how great that was, but I did a pivot. And after I lost my career as a CVPM, which was my complete identity, I was absolutely wrapped up in the veterinary. I am a practice manager. That's who I am. Well, I found out that it's not who I am. That's part of who I am. It's a piece of who I am. And it's just one of many things that I am. So I pivoted, and within 6 months of this happening and being forced to retire, I got filed for my business paperwork and started my company. So we can do these things to ourselves, allow our health to be affected, but you can recover. And there are things you can do if you believe you can do it. So I wasn't powerless. I was having a hard time breathing. At the time, whenever I was filling out my business paperwork, I think I did it like on LegalZoom or somewhere just like that, filing for my LLC, I had to get my husband to help me walk from our room to the desk. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, just get me to the desk. I got to get to the desk. And so he helps me, he carries me over there because I'm recovering from the heart attack and all the shenanigans. And there's a lot of shenanigans to a heart attack, people. I'm not even kidding. And I sat down and I told him what I was doing. I'm like, I'm going to spend, I think it was $745 through LegalZoom. You could totally do it cheaper now. And I filled out the paperwork and I created dog days. And he just thought I'd lost my mind. He thought I was having like this midlife crisis because I almost died and all this weirdness. I'm like, nope, I'm going to do this because there are ways, and there are a lot of people in this industry that are going through something similar. We're sick, we're disabled, we're injured, we're dealing with anxiety, we're dealing with depression. Do you know how many people I've had tell me that they have bipolar disorder? Like, oh my gosh. And they keep it a secret because they're so afraid of being broken. It's heartbreaking to me. So I can tell my story because everybody else has a story too. And it is amazing. So how do you reset yourself? How do you help your team reset when you've had the world's crappiest day, or you're sick, or you're dealing with panic attack, or you're dealing with anxiety, or all of the things that's going on? How do you reset yourself? So let's go through a couple of exercises. And Lori, I have no idea where I'm at on time. So I'm just going to blast through this and you can tell me to shut up when I need to.
You're good. Keep going.
Okay. Thank you. So we're going to do an art project. And I want you to think about this. We're going to create a self-care plan. This is super easy. And you can go to your manager and say, hey, oh yeah, I forgot about that, Melissa. I'm sorry. That picture of me in the ICU with the nose and the tongue. Yes, I had my husband sneak a laptop in because payroll was due. And I was doing payroll that night through the nitroglycerin headache. That stuff is no joke, but I literally was doing payroll that night. So yeah, I'm hard-headed and I don't learn lessons easily, but when I do learn them, I learn them and I internalize them and I try to teach from my mistakes. And I don't want you guys to have to do payroll in the ICU. So that's why I'm sharing my story with you. So let's create this self-care plan. I want to, at some point, grab a piece of paper, put this list of terms on there: goals, body, spirit, mind, and supporters. Any way you want, color it any way you want, make it look any way you want. So this is mine. And what you do is you fill in all the things that fit into those categories. So my self-care plan for my mind, I take movement breaks because my body does start to hurt. I do get joint pain. I just have to move around, and I work in front of a computer. I have like 2 monitors in front of me. And so I could easily sit here for 8, 9, 10 hours and not move. And then my hips hurt, my knees hurt, all of the things, where before I was always on the floor, wrestling dogs and moving around. So I never had that problem, but now it's something I have to move. I go and I work in the garden. I've been selected as a Texas Master Gardener, and I'm working on my certification for that. So I'll accomplish that in the end of November. That's just a side passion. It has nothing to do with anything else, but I love gardening and growing things. So I'm going to challenge myself in that way. I meditate every morning. Like Melissa said, we have a meditation group. Rebecca Rose is in it. There's several other veterinary folks. Anybody that wants to join it is welcome to. We do try to stick with veterinary folks, but I don't think there's like a hard and fast rule about that, but it's good to meditate and just kind of have that moment. For goals, I love to help others. I love to build business. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love businesses. I love helping people grow businesses, come up with revenue sources. I love the creativity that goes behind that. I could just geek out on that forever. I want to buy a homestead, and my husband is really moving slow on that because with the homestead will come animals, and he's trying to stop me, and that's not going to happen. I want a bigger garden. My supporters are Linda, my business partner and best friend. My manager squad, that's Melissa and Andrea and a lot of those other girls. My Facebook groups that I'm in, the Compassion Fatigue group, Jay and my kids, my mom and dad. I love coffee until it's time to drink wine, and then I love wine. Again, gardening. I focus on my sleep health. That's important. You have to be training your body to rest and get sleep. And then for my spirit, what refills my spirit is coffee and wine again. I love helping others. I love focusing on growth and education and just teaching myself new things, taking on new challenges. So this year is Master Gardener. 2023, Melissa, because she knows this, 2023 is the year of welding. I'm going to learn to weld. I have my own welder and I'm going to learn to do it. So it's going to happen. It probably won't be pretty, but I'm doing it. So this is my self-care plan. I challenge you to make one and then actually use it. Keep it in your locker, keep it in your pocket, keep it in your purse, your scrub pockets, whatever, get a tattoo of it, whatever you need to do to have your self-care plan near you so you can actually look at it and remind yourself when you're in that negative mindset moment of all the things that you enjoy that can help you get out of it. What do we have going on in the chat? I want to make sure I'm addressing anything that needs to come up.
Elizabeth is sharing her story
Okay.
about her
Chest
heart
pain.
attack as
Oh,
well.
yeah. Nice background music. No.
My husband is
che-
playing the guitar. I'm very sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Kept pounding in your chest, trying to get rid of the bubble. Make your, yes, it's the burp. Ladies, it is about the burp. If your chest hurts and your back hurts and you feel like you have a burp that can't move, take it seriously. It can also be esophageal spasms, and it can also be a panic attack. All of those don't matter. If you're having a heart attack, you need to get help. So don't just assume it's any one thing. But for women, it's different than men. Yep. I didn't have to have a stent. I didn't have to have surgery. And not only that, I have no long-term scarring or effects from my heart attack. It was absolutely a miracle. But that's when we found out that I do have scleroderma, which is an extremely rare autoimmune disease. Thank you for sharing that, Elizabeth. Yeah, definitely change those priorities and those boundaries. I was a little slow on the uptake with that one. So self-care is one of those really weird. Laura, you have it too? Oh my gosh. You're one of the rare birds with me. I don't want to say congratulations because that's really not nice, but I love meeting other people like me because there's not many of us. I know 2 other people. One of them was a client I got in a fight with at the practice because she was a Karen and she was being really ugly and I was firing her. And she told me that she knows she's grouchy and that she's dealing with a really bad disease and that she can't help it. And that scleroderma is really tough to deal with. And I was like, and I had just been diagnosed like 2 weeks prior and I was still at the practice trying to deal with stuff. And I told her, I'm like, what? I have scleroderma too. And then we talked. We still talk to this day. I'm not even in the practice anymore. She moved somewhere else and we're Facebook friends and we still communicate and we've never had another problem. So, wow. So self-care is one of those trigger terms that are not trigger terms, catchphrases is what I meant to say, where, people think, okay, I don't have time for a spa day and I don't want anybody touching my feet. So I don't like the self-care thing. Self-care is anything that serves you. If it's going for a walk, if it is looking at your self-care plan, if it's inviting coworkers to exercise with you or meditate with you, if it's just acknowledging that you have stress and that you have anxiety or that you have fear and just being aware of where you're at, it's called mindfulness. That's still self-care. The other thing I want you to try to work on or think about within your practice and bring up is normalize the mental health conversation. Start talking about it. Start talking about, I'm feeling anxious, or I am having a hard time with my mental health right now. It doesn't say you're mentally ill or you're diseased or you're crazy or you've got these it's mental health. We go to the doctor whenever we are unwell. So it's the same thing with our minds. We need to acknowledge that sometimes in our lives, we do deal with mental health issues. I got depressed. More than anything, I got pissed off. Like, how dare I have a heart attack? And who the hell said that I could get scleroderma and stop what I was doing? That's not going to happen. Not only that, as Laura knows, there is no cure for scleroderma. It's treated with a lot of medications, and we have to slow it down until it finally does do us in. But we can fight the good fight and slow it down and do the things that we have to do. So check yourself. How are you really doing? How are you managing your stress? How is your stress? How's the team? Are they stressed? And then not only that, are you supporting your commitment to well-being for yourself? Are you setting the example and are you maintaining your boundaries that allow wellness? So I'll tell you my secret. After I got sick, because honestly, I had a lot of time laying around trying to figure things out. The one thing that I ended up finding for me that really did help was the meditation. Meditation, for those of you who haven't done it, I know everybody's heard of it, but some people haven't experienced it. Excuse me. And Melissa and I have 2 very different reactions to meditation. I make fun of her because she's very literal. So during a meditation, if they're talking about walking through a jungle and looking at all the purple flowers and listening to all the monkeys chirp and whatever else is going on, she's literally trying to visualize purple leaves. And so, because she's a literal thinker. So meditation is different for every single person. Meditation is restful. It is quiet, but it's unique to you. There is no way of doing it wrong, because however you're doing it that serves you is right. So you can't fail at it. It is simple, and it is weird at first, because it's just like, okay, how long do I have to sit here and be quiet? And what am I doing? Meditation is not religious unless you want it to be. It's not yoga. So we're not going to stretch. It sometimes is weird hippie stuff, but really it's not. It's not difficult, and it's not hard to learn. So we're actually going to do one. I'm hoping this works. So let me know. I'm going to turn this on. Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear this. It's just a 3-minute quick thing.
Yes, we can hear it.
Perfect.
We're going to do a brief exercise now. It's called the 3-minute breathing space. The first thing we do with this practice, because it's brief and we want to come into the moment quickly, is to take a very definite posture. Relaxed, dignified, back erect, but not stiff. Letting our bodies express a sense of being present and awake. Now closing your eyes, if that feels comfortable for you. The first step is being aware, really aware of what's going on with you right now. Becoming aware of what's going through your mind. What thoughts are around. Here again, as best as you can, just noting the thoughts as mental events. So we note them, and then we note the feelings that are around at the moment. In particular, turning toward any sense of discomfort or unpleasant feelings. So rather than try to push them away or shut them out, just acknowledge them, perhaps saying, here you are. That's how it is right now. And similarly with sensations in the body, are there sensations of tension, of holding, or whatever? And again, awareness of them, simply noting them. Okay, that's how it is right now. So we've got a sense of what's going on right now. We've stepped out of automatic pilot. The second step is to collect our awareness by focusing on a single object, the movements of the breath. So now we really gather ourselves, focusing attention in the movements of the abdomen, the rise and fall of the breath. Focus on the movements of the abdominal wall, moment by moment, breath by breath, as best as you can, so that you know when the breath is moving in and you know when the breath is moving out. Just binding your awareness to the pattern of movement down there, gathering yourself, using the anchor of the breath to really be present. And now as a third step, having gathered ourselves to some extent, we allow our awareness to expand. As well as being aware of the breath, we also include a sense of the body as a whole, so that we get this more spacious awareness. A sense of the body as a whole, including any tightness or sensations related to holding in the shoulders, neck, back, or face. Following the breath as if your whole body is breathing. Holding it all in this slightly softer, more spacious awareness. And then when you're ready, just allowing your eyes to open.
That's it. 3 minutes. So most of us get like a 10-minute break or even a lunch. That takes 3 minutes. And then you still have all that other time. You can still go to the bathroom. You can still get a drink. You can still go do the things you need to do. 3 minutes. And you could take a moment to just kind of reset. In that moment, I was getting excited and winded before telling you about my story and just kind of getting into it. And my lungs were feeling affected and I was having a hard time catching my breath. Just doing that 3 minute breath work, meditation centered me again and kind of got me like, okay, I've caught my breath. I've had a moment. I'm kind of back in the mode, right? So I want to remind you that workplace well-being is an action. It's not a slogan. So this is for you, but this is also for your management, your ownership teams. This is a commitment to how the culture of the practice is going to operate within the concept of wellness for the team. So define and commit to it. Define what wellness means to your practice, to you, and suggest it to your manager. Say, I'm focusing on wellness for 2023. And this is what focusing on wellness means to me. Can we do something with the practice? Can we do something with a team meeting? Can we talk about this with the team and really embrace wellness? Set healthy boundaries and help others set boundaries and respect their boundaries. So it goes back to those work wives and work husbands and those BFFs that we have in the practice. We overstep their boundaries probably more so than anyone else, because it'll be one of those like, oh my God, I'm so slammed. If you just help me do this, then we can both get out of here. We'll be a little bit late, but we can both go. Well, maybe they could just go. And yeah, it's more work because work didn't get done, but we somehow take our BFFs down with us in some of that negative. I'm suggesting lift them up, help them set boundaries and respect their boundaries. Practice your self-care, whatever that looks like for you. Don't have to run to the spa. Nobody has to touch your feet. You don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with. Just set up what self-care looks like for you. If you like to go out and garden and dig in dirt, go do it, but set that time up for yourself. Be real with each other and transparent and vulnerable within reason. Don't give people ammunition to fire you, to hold things against you, to hurt you later. If they're not emotionally intelligent and self-aware, to not take that information and weaponize it against you, don't tell them your stuff. But be transparent with people and let them know, I'm physically unwell right now. I need a day off. Whatever is happening, I'm anxious right now. I'm having a panic attack. I need a moment. Can I please go do what I need to do to kind of recenter myself, and I'll come back. Just be transparent. Work on empathy with other people. We all know now, going through this whole day together, how many people are dealing with things and all the different things we're dealing with. It's just tremendous. So work on empathy with each other. Talk about mental health and mental wellness. It shouldn't be taboo. It shouldn't be something that we shy away from or that we're afraid of, because we're afraid we're gonna get fired if you got scleroderma and you can't do this and can't do that. Talk about it. Talk about the fact that I'm feeling down. We had a very brave person mention that they had thoughts of suicide from time to time. Wow. Share that. Let people know where you're at, and talk about it, because I guarantee you there are so many people that are doing it. And then seek outside help, get therapy, get treatment, get help. I want to define compassion fatigue for you really quick. I'm not going to get into it too much. It's the stress that results from helping or wanting to help those who are traumatized. So it's basically secondary trauma. We're taking that on. They are the ones going through the moment. We're going through the trauma of helping the person going through the trauma. So the signs and symptoms are chronic and physical emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, irritability, difficulty sleeping, headaches, poor job satisfaction. Dude, that was my whole life. I wouldn't have known the difference between stress, this, or burnout. Talk to people, get some help with this, develop positive coping skills. Burnout is different. It is burnout from the job. It's accumulative. It builds and grows and grows and grows. And it's the job burning us out. Again, talk about your feelings, get outside help, develop those healthy habits, look outside the practice for your self-care options. So I'm not saying leave the practice or quit your job. I'm saying look at your life outside the practice. We are more than the practice. So be aware, ask questions of your team members. Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling depressed? Do you feel like you are considering hurting yourself? Those are hard questions to ask, but maybe they're waiting for you to ask. And maybe you are going to save someone if you do. Okay. So that's it. That's me. I appreciate your time.
Wow, thank you so much, Rhonda. I'm just so blown away. I really am. Both you women, superior, excellent sessions today. I'm
thank you.
Just blown away. I thank you both so much, from myself and from NAFTA. Really learned a lot.
Do we
Thank
do we
you.
have time for Janine's question for Rhonda?
Sure, yeah, go ahead, do some questions. Was there one there? There's
So
one.
where do you think the movement toward better life-work balance is in clinical practice, difference in generations, if you will? Are we 5 years out, 10 years? Thank you. I don't know, Janine, how committed are you to it? You know, if we require it in our lives, then it becomes a cultural norm. Instead of waiting for someone to give us permission to value our wellness and value our self-care, I want to empower each of you as a group, as an individual, to value it yourselves. If you require that, then it will become a requirement. So for me, I required it. I require balance. I require being able to step outside of who I am within the veterinary space. I am a veterinary marketer. I am a business owner. I am a wife. I'm a mom. I'm a gardener. I'm all these things, but I'm not any one thing. I am a sick person. I am a chronically ill person. I am a recovering heart attack person. There's so many things that we are, but self-care has to be in the center of that, or all of those things start to bury you. So if you require it, then they will have to start acknowledging that it is a requirement for your employment. It's a standard. Does that answer your question, or was it too blasé for you?
I thought it was a good answer.
Yeah,
Here's something else.
you're a boomer. Okay. And oh, yay, Master Gardener. Oh, I love it. Asking for friends. Yeah. I would encourage your friends to set that requirement. Set that requirement that self-care, balance, and wellness is a job function. It should be on the freaking job descriptions as far as I'm concerned. It is a job function. And as soon as they start respecting that, the people in the industry will respect it as well. It's already changing. You guys are already changing so much, and you don't even realize it. We're looking at you from the outside as CVPMs and as other people in the industry. The technician industry as a whole is in this blossoming revolution. You guys are changing who you are in the industry. It's a little discombobulated at times, and there's a little bit of infighting, but you as a group are standing up. You're demanding better pay, better circumstances. You're educating yourselves on the value of wellness and self-care. These are all things that are changing. It's coming, and it's happening now. It's not 5 years from now. It's happening.
Yep.
Anybody else?
No, it looks like everyone's just, I mean, again, I'm blown away. So that's all.
Thank you. I have so much fun doing this, but then I have to go take a nap because I get so excited and I
Yeah.
get on my little soapboxes. But I appreciate everybody's time today, and thank you for
Yes.
sharing the day with us.
Yeah. Thank
I
you for
hope
letting us be
everybody-
here.
Yes, I hope everybody had a great day. I think it was just phenomenal. All sessions, they will be up on the member section next week. So if you want to share it with your team, I guess you can, watch the webinar with them. So everyone have a great rest of your day. Have a great Sunday. Take
Thank you.
care. Good
Thank you.
day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All righty. Take care. Bye-bye.